There is a truth that lives quietly beneath every fear you've ever known, behind every moment of doubt, grief, longing, or confusion. It does not raise its voice, for it is not the voice of the world. It is the voice of the soul, the voice that was with you before you took your first breath, and the voice that will carry you long after the story of your body concludes. And this voice, this presence, whispers with unwavering certainty, you were never disconnected. Not from source, not from love, not from the light, not from the infinite flow of wisdom, joy, and divine presence that pulses through all things. The disconnection you felt was not the truth. It was the illusion, a passing cloud, not the sky, a dream, not the dreamer. You have always been connected. You have always been whole. You have always been one. The moment you believe you are separate, the world reflects separation. You see yourself as a body, and you forget the soul. You see yourself as a role, a daughter, a son, a spouse, a worker, a failure, a success, and you forget that you are not any of these things. You are not your title. You are not your mistakes. You are not even your accomplishments. You are a divine spark cloaked in temporary form, journeying through time but never touched by it. The river cannot be separated from the ocean, just as you cannot be separated from your source. Yet we forget. Oh, how easy it is to forget. We grow up in a world that teaches us to look outward for our worth, our identity, our purpose. We chase approval, like thirsty wanderers in a desert, unaware that the well was within us all along. We seek fulfillment in achievement, security in possessions, and validation in the eyes of others, all while the truth patiently waits, untouched, at the center of our being. The soul does not panic when you forget it. It does not scold or shame. It simply waits. Like the sun behind the storm clouds, like the stillness beneath the waves, like the breath you forgot you were breathing. Your reconnection is not something to be earned, it is something to be remembered. And even the remembering is not a journey outward, it is a return inward, a silent homecoming to what never left. You were not born broken. You were not born flawed or in need of repair. You were born radiant, a slice of eternity, temporarily dressed as a name, a face, a story. Before you were taught to compare, you were content. Before you were taught to chase, you were still. Before you were taught to doubt, you trusted. And before you ever learned fear, you knew only love. Every moment you spend trying to fix what was never broken is a moment spent deepening the illusion. Healing does not come from proving your worth. It comes from seeing that your worth is beyond proof, beyond question, beyond logic. It is inherent. It is eternal. It is what you are. When a wave forgets it is the ocean, it may panic at the sight of the shore. It may thrash, thinking it will end. But the wave was never separate. It was always the ocean in motion, changing shape, but never substance. And you too are the motion of the divine, the breath of God, the movement of eternity through form. You are not disconnected, you only thought you were. And thought, though powerful, is not truth. Let us look closely at this, because so often the disconnection we feel is not based on experience, but interpretation. It is not what happened, but what we told ourselves about what happened. We were rejected, and we said, I must be unlovable. We failed, and we said, I must be inadequate. We were abandoned, and we said, I must be worthless. But none of those are truths. They are interpretations, echoes of pain dressed up as facts. But pain is not identity. Pain is not prophecy. Pain is not who you are. It is only the messenger. It is only the teacher. And its lesson is always the same. Come home. Return to the truth. Remember who you are. When you truly remember, the story loses its grip. The labels fall away. The fear fades. And you no longer ask, am I worthy of love? because the question itself becomes irrelevant. You do not ask the sky if it's worthy of blue. You do not ask the sun if it deserves to shine. You simply let them be, because their being is enough, and so is yours. Now breathe and listen. There is nothing you must become. There is only something you must stop pretending not to be. You are not on a journey to become something greater. You are on a journey to remember the greatness you already are. You are not trying to find the light. You are learning to stop covering it. Like a candle hidden under layers of cloth, your radiance has never ceased to burn. Even in your darkest hour, your soul was aglow, untouched, unscarred, unmoved by the storms of the mind. The ego shouts, the soul whispers, and in the noise of the world we begin to believe that only the loud is true. But truth does not need to announce itself, it simply is. The oak tree does not shout to prove its strength. The stars do not compete for attention. The divine does not market itself with flashing signs. It resides quietly in your stillness, waiting for your return. Not because it ever left, but because you looked away. To feel disconnected is not a failure. It is a call, a sacred longing, a divine ache, reminding you that the world will never satisfy what only spirit can fulfill. Your restlessness, your searching, your hunger for more, it is not weakness. It is the compass of your soul pointing you home. And home, dear one, is not a place. It is a state of awareness. It is the remembrance of unity, the inner knowing that the life flowing through you is the same life that moves the tides, blossoms the flowers, and turns the galaxies. You were born of the same breath that whispered the cosmos into being, and that breath has never stopped flowing through you. You are not an accident of biology. You are a miracle of consciousness, and the consciousness within you is not confined by your body, your past, or your beliefs. You are awareness itself, spacious, eternal, whole. The moment you realize this, the illusion of disconnection begins to dissolve like morning mist under the sun. But let us be honest, the mind resists this truth. It wants proof. It demands logic. It clings to old wounds like badges of honor. If I was never disconnected, it says, then why did I suffer? Why did I feel so lost, so abandoned, so unloved? The answer is gentle and profound, because you believed a story that was never true. And belief, when repeated often enough, becomes a prison. But no prison built by thought can hold the soul. The bars may appear real, but they are made of smoke. And smoke cannot stop the wind. You are the wind. You are the sky beyond the weather. You are the space in which all things appear, but you are not the things themselves. The disconnection you felt was not failure, it was contrast. It was the necessary forgetting that makes remembering so powerful. Just as the silence after the noise makes the silence more sacred, just as the reunion after distance makes the embrace more holy, you needed to forget, so that remembering could awaken something deeper in you: compassion, empathy, gratitude, humility. Without darkness, you would never seek the light. Without separation, you would never know the sweetness of return. And so we bless the forgetting. We honor the ache. We thank the moments we felt alone, for they were the cracks through which the light entered. They were the sacred interruptions that made us look inward, that made us fall to our knees and ask, what is real? And from that question, the door began to open, not outward, but inward. The reconnection was never about doing more. It was about being more still, about seeing through the fog, not fighting it, about trusting that even when the clouds hide the sun has not disappeared. In the same way, your connection to the divine, to love, to peace, to truth, has never been severed. It has only been veiled. And the veil is thinning now. Every time you quiet the mind and listen for the deeper truth, you pull back the curtain. Every time you forgive instead of resent, you return. Every time you choose presence over worry, stillness over struggle, love over fear, you come home again. You are not the storm. You are the awareness of the storm. You are not your pain. You are the presence that holds the pain with compassion. You are not your past. You are the witnessing light that never dimmed, even when your story grew dark. There is a divine intelligence moving through you. You do not need to seek it, only to stop resisting it. Just as the river does not push the current, you do not need to force the flow of your life. You only need to remember that you are not separate from the river. You are not the leaf carried by the current. You are the current itself. And when you remember this, fear loses its grip. Not because life becomes perfect, but because you stop demanding perfection. You stop needing life to go your way in order to feel safe. You begin to trust that all things, even the chaos, even the detours, are part of your sacred unfolding. That the soul is never late. That the path cannot be lost, for the path is not out there. It is within you. You are the path. You are the journey. You are the destination. There is no distance between you and God. There never was. But belief can build illusions, and illusions feel real when we agree with them. You may believe yourself to be far from grace, far from peace, far from truth, but your belief does not alter the truth, only your experience of it. The sun does not stop shining because you close your eyes. And love does not leave you because you stop feeling it. Love remains, always. You are not walking toward the light, you are walking in the light. You are not seeking wholeness, you are awakening to it. The voice that says you are separate, you are unworthy, you are broken, is not the voice of truth. It is the voice of fear, of ego, of old wounds trying to justify their pain. But you are under no obligation to believe every voice that speaks in your head. If you want to hear the voice of your soul, you must go deeper than the noise. You must become still, not externally, but inwardly. You must be willing to enter the sacred silence beyond your thoughts. And in that stillness, you will remember what you always knew but had forgotten. That the kingdom of heaven is not elsewhere. It is not after death. It is not behind some future achievement. It is within you. Do not look to the horizon for what is already here. The soul does not live in tomorrow. The soul does not dwell in once I'm healed, or once they apologize, or once I fix myself. The soul is here now, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this moment of awareness, and in this now. There is no disconnection. There is only presence. To live as though you are connected even when you don't feel it is to align with truth over sensation. There may be pain, there may be confusion, but if you act from the knowing that you are never alone, never broken, never cast aside, then you become a lighthouse for others still lost in the fog of forgetting. You light the path home, not just for yourself, but for the world. You are not here by mistake. You are not breathing by accident. You were dreamed into existence by a love so vast, so complete, so intelligent, that no human mind could fully comprehend it. You are not the result of random atoms colliding in a meaningless universe. You are the expression of divine intention, the song of eternity sung in human form. And that song cannot be undone. No trauma, no wound, no heartbreak has the power to unmake you. You may carry scars, but the soul does not bleed. The soul cannot be destroyed. It cannot be diminished. It can only be hidden, and even then, only in your perception. You see, everything that happens to you can become a doorway to the truth within you. The pain you thought separated you from God may be the very pain that softens your heart enough to feel God again. The betrayal that made you lose faith in people may become the experience that pushes you to finally place your faith in something higher, something permanent, something unshakable. And what is more unshakable than the soul? What is more enduring than truth? What is more constant than love that does not need a reason, a condition, or a reward? You do not need to beg the universe to notice you. You are the universe noticing itself. What a miracle it is to be conscious, to witness, to feel, to choose. What a miracle it is to awaken, to see through the illusion, to remember the light, to rise above the old narrative of lack and begin living as the divine being you always were. To live this way is not to deny pain, it is to no longer become it. It is to feel deeply, but not be defined by the feeling. It is to hold the story, but no longer be trapped inside it. You were not meant to relive the wound, you were meant to transcend it. Not by erasing the past, but by no longer letting the past define the present. Healing is not the absence of pain. Healing is the remembrance of wholeness. And wholeness was never lost, only obscured. Like the sun behind the clouds, it never stops shining. You are whole. Even in your doubts, even in your grief, even in your lowest moments. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means completeness. It means the light and the shadow, the joy and the sorrow, the rising and the falling, all held in the arms of the same divine awareness. And that awareness is you, not the little you who strives and struggles and doubts, but the eternal you, the unnameable essence beneath all labels, all identities, all roles. That is who you are, and that you has never been disconnected, not once, not ever. To believe that you are separate is to suffer. To believe that you are not enough is to grieve something that was never missing. These beliefs are not sins, they are misunderstandings. They are dreams from which you are now beginning to wake. You do not need to condemn yourself for forgetting. You only need to remember that forgetting is part of remembering. Even the prodigal son had to leave home in order to know what home truly was. You were not lost, you were learning. You were not broken, you were being broken open. And what was cracking was not your soul, but the shell around it. The false identity. The armor built from fear and shame and rejection. That was never you. The truth of you cannot be harmed by the world. The truth of you cannot be touched by insult, cannot be tarnished by failure, cannot be distorted by lies. That truth is God expressing as you, not as a distant deity hovering above the clouds, but as breath, as presence, as quiet inner knowing. The divine is not far. It is not elsewhere. It is here. It is now. It is this. When you stop arguing with this moment, you begin to feel it. When you stop running from what is, and you surrender into now, not as a defeat, but as a returning, then your inner eyes begin to open. Then the veil thins. And then you remember, this is what connection feels like. It's not dramatic. It's not something you have to earn or achieve. It is simple, quiet, like a warm light glowing inside your chest, like a gentle yes from the universe that doesn't need to shout. Do not be fooled by the noise of the ego. It will tell you that you are not ready, that you have not done enough inner work, that you must meditate harder, heal deeper, prove yourself first. But that is the lie of separation speaking. The truth is simpler than that. You are not disconnected, you are distracted. Distracted by fear, by memory, by identity, by the 1,000 masks the world has handed you. Take them off. Breathe. Come back to your breath. Your breath is always present. It is your sacred tether to now. And now is where the divine lives. Not in some distant mountaintop or some perfect future version of yourself. Here. In the silence between your thoughts, in the pause between your words, in the gentle rising and falling of your chest. You don't need to go looking for God. You only need to stop hiding from what's already here. And how do you stop hiding? You stop pretending. You stop pretending you are small. You stop pretending you are separate. You stop pretending you are the name they gave you, the pain you carried, the mask you wore. You stop running. You sit. You listen. You breathe. And you let love in. Not love from another, though, that's beautiful too, but a deeper love, a divine love, a love that has no opposite, a love that asks nothing of you except to let it flow, a love that was never withheld, only unseen. And as you begin to feel that love, Your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as the seeker and begin to know yourself as the source. You stop chasing connection and begin radiating it. You stop asking, how can I be worthy? And start asking, how could I ever have believed I wasn't? That question, that sacred inquiry, is the beginning of awakening. You are not the reflection in the mirror. You are the light that makes seeing possible. You are not the thoughts in your mind. You are the awareness watching them pass like clouds in a sky that never moves. You are not the body. You are not the roles. You are not the story. You are the spirit within the story. And spirit cannot be disconnected from itself. When a drop of water merges with the ocean, it becomes indistinguishable from the whole. But the truth is, it was never separate. The illusion was the drop. The truth was the ocean. And so it is with you. You believed yourself to be a drop. And now you are remembering that you have always been the ocean, infinite, formless, flowing, free. You were never disconnected. Not even for a moment. You only imagined yourself to be. And imagination is powerful, but truth is more powerful still. There is a moment in every life, sometimes quiet, sometimes thunderous, when the old identity can no longer carry the weight of your becoming. It may come disguised as a breakdown, an illness, a loss, or simply an emptiness you can no longer ignore. But that moment is not the end. It is the invitation. It is life gently, or not so gently, asking you to return to the truth beneath all appearances. And the truth is, you are not alone, you are not forgotten, and you are not disconnected. Your soul has never left the presence of the source. Only your awareness wandered. But what a beautiful wandering it was, for in forgetting the light, you came to know it more intimately. In feeling lost, you developed a longing that would lead you home. The journey into illusion is not a sin, it is a rite of passage, a passage from unconscious being to awakened presence. And what you awaken to is not new, it is eternal. It has been waiting quietly behind every experience, every breath, every joy, and every ache, whispering, you are still held, you are still whole. The caterpillar does not mourn the loss of its cocoon. It does not cling to what once defined its safety. It surrenders fully, completely, into a transformation it cannot control. And in that surrender, it becomes what it was always meant to be, something winged, something free. The cocoon was not failure, it was preparation, it was not prison, it was process. And your disconnection, your cocoon of confusion and searching and striving, was not the opposite of your truth. It was the sacred contrast that brought your truth into focus. Do not fear the moments when life feels unfamiliar. That is when the soul does its deepest work. That is when the ego begins to lose its grip and the real you, the eternal, unshakable, divine you, begins to rise. You are not being punished when the old patterns fall apart. You are being realigned. And it may feel like chaos, but it is sacred chaos, holy unraveling, the storm that clears the sky, the fire that makes room for new growth. Even in your trembling, you are safe. Even in your surrender, you are supported. You are part of something so vast, so intimate, so perfect that your mind cannot contain it, but your heart already knows it. You've felt it in flashes, in those moments of awe, of silence, of sudden clarity when everything made sense and you didn't need the answer anymore because you felt the presence of something bigger. That presence is not separate from you. It is not merely around you. It is you. You are not trying to connect to God. You are God, remembering itself through the lens of your life. You are not trying to connect to love. You are love, momentarily asleep, now stirring. You are not trying to become the light. You are the light, realizing its own radiance. What a miracle to wake up to this truth. What a gift to live not as the mask, but as the awareness behind the mask. To move through the world not trying to be enough, but knowing you always were. From this place, forgiveness becomes natural. Compassion becomes second nature. You no longer see enemies, only mirrors. You no longer see competition, only reflections of the same divinity wearing different costumes. You stop needing to be right, and you start choosing peace. You stop holding on to old wounds like trophies, and you start letting them go like autumn leaves, trusting that what falls away is no longer needed. You stop identifying with the voice that says you are separate, and you start listening for the silence that says you are one. One with the stars, one with the trees, one with the person you once were and the person you are becoming, one with the presence that breathes you, one with the source of all life. And in that oneness, fear melts. In that oneness, shame loses its meaning. In that oneness, you finally come to rest. You are not here to fight for your worth. You are here to embody it. You are not here to chase connection. You are here to remember that it was never lost. You are not here to fix yourself. You are here to uncover what was never broken. This is the path. Not forward, not backward, but inward. Inward, where the silence speaks louder than thought. Inward, where love does not have to be earned. Inward, where peace is not conditional. Inward, where God waits not on a throne, but in the stillness of your own breath. You were never disconnected. You were dreaming. And now, blessed awakening, you are beginning to remember. So now, as you breathe in this final still moment, let it all come together. Let it all come home. The longing, the ache, the search, the surrender, let it all return, not as fragments of who you were, but as the wholeness of who you've always been. Let the voice of fear dissolve in the presence of truth. Let the illusion of separation fall away, like a shadow chased by the morning light. You were never broken, only believing you were. You were never lost, only walking the sacred spiral of remembering. You were never abandoned, only turning away from the light that never stopped shining for you. You were never disconnected, not for a moment, not in your darkest night, not in your most wounded cry. You were held, you were guided, you were loved, even when you didn't feel it, especially when you didn't feel it. Because love, the divine kind, does not falter when you forget it. It simply waits, patiently, eternally, like the sun waiting for you to open the window. And now you remember that the pain wasn't punishment, it was a path. The silence wasn't abandonment, it was invitation. The storm wasn't chaos, it was cleansing. And the journey wasn't to find something new, it was to unveil what had always been true. That you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop. That you are not your story, you are the soul that survived it. That you are not seeking connection, you are rediscovering the connection that never broke, never wavered, never even paused. So let this be your knowing now. You are divine, you are whole, you are light in form, love in motion, awareness in bloom. There is nothing more you need to become. There is only something to remember. And now you were never disconnected, and you never will be.
The very fact that you are here tonight suggests that something within you knows there is more. Something in you recognizes that the state of consciousness in which you dwell is not the final chapter of your story. And you are absolutely right, for no state is final unless you decree it to be so. The magnificent truth I wish to share with you tonight is that freedom, complete and total freedom, is your natural inheritance. It is the fundamental reality of your being, and the path to claiming this freedom is not outside of you, but within the divine operation of your own wonderful human imagination. Let me share with you a profound truth that changed my life and has transformed the lives of countless others who have tested it and found it to be the one grand law of life. Consciousness is the one and only reality. Everything that you perceive, everything that makes up your world is nothing more than your consciousness pushed out. The world that seems to hold you captive is but a reflection of your own states of consciousness made visible. The prison that appears to constrain you exists nowhere but in your own imagination. When you truly grasp this principle, not merely intellectually, but in the very depths of your being, you will understand that the key to your freedom has been in your possession all along. For if consciousness is the only reality and your world is simply consciousness objectified, then to change your world, you need only change your consciousness. This is the divine art of assumption. By assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you can transform the shadow world of limitation into the substance of freedom. Many people come to me and say, Nebel, I understand these principles. I grasp them intellectually, but still I feel stuck. I cannot seem to break free from my circumstances. And to this I reply, the feeling of being stuck persists because you have not yet made real to yourself the truth that you are pure consciousness, pure awareness, and that this consciousness is the only reality. You have not fully accepted that the world and all its circumstances are mere reflections, mere shadows of your own magnificent inner states. Consider for a moment what it means to be stuck. To be stuck implies that there is something external to you, something outside of your control that is restraining your movement, limiting your options, confining your existence. But I tell you with absolute certainty, there is nothing outside of consciousness. There is nothing external to you, for you are consciousness, and consciousness is all there is. The walls you perceive around you, the limitations you feel so acutely exist only because you have granted them reality in your consciousness. Tonight, I invite you to make a revolutionary discovery. You are not stuck because of external circumstances. You are experiencing the state of being stuck because you are dwelling in that state in consciousness. And just as you can enter a state, you can exit it. Just as you can assume one state of consciousness, you can assume another. This is the miracle of your being the power to choose the state in which you will dwell. Let me share with you a simple yet profound practice that will begin to dissolve the illusion of being stuck. Right now, wherever you are, close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath and relax your body completely. Now, in your imagination, see yourself as you would be if you were completely free. Feel the feeling of that freedom. What would it feel like to move without restriction? How would you carry yourself if all limitations were gone? What thoughts would fill your mind if you knew yourself to be absolutely free? Dwell in this state. Saturate yourself with the feeling of freedom. Make it so real, so vivid, that for a moment you forget the old state of being stuck. In that moment of complete absorption in the state of freedom, you have planted a seed in the fertile soil of your consciousness, and what you plant must grow. What you assume must become, but perhaps you're thinking, I've tried this before and nothing changed. To this, I would remind you of a principle I often emphasize. The time track is a device of the human mind. In the realm of consciousness, in the realm of true causation, there is no time. The seed planted in consciousness will blossom in your world when the conditions are right, when the bridge of incidence has been crossed. Your role is not to make the seed grow. Your role is not to force the manifestation. Your role is simply to plant the seed through the art of assumption and to remain faithful to that assumption despite all evidence to the contrary. For remember, the evidence of your senses only tells you what is, it cannot tell you what will be. And what will be is determined not by what is, but by the state you occupy in consciousness. In my own life, I have tested this law countless times, and it has never failed me. I recall a time when I felt completely constrained by financial limitations. All the evidence of my senses told me that I was trapped in poverty, that there was no way out. But instead of accepting this as my final state, I began to assume the feeling of wealth and abundance. I would fall asleep each night, feeling the joy and relief of financial freedom. I would walk through my days carrying myself as one who was abundantly supplied. I did not deny the facts of my current situation, but I refused to give them power over my consciousness. And then seemingly out of nowhere opportunities began to present themselves. Doors began to open that I could not have anticipated. People entered my life bearing gifts that aligned perfectly with my needs. The bridge of incidence formed itself, leading me from the state of financial constraint to the state of abundance I had assumed in consciousness. This is the law that governs all manifestation. Consciousness is the only reality, and what you experience in the outer world is simply consciousness objectified. Therefore, to change your experience, you must change your consciousness. But changing consciousness is not a matter of positive thinking or wishful hoping. It is not about affirming affirmations or repeating mantras. It is about entering so completely into the state of your wish fulfilled that you temporarily forget all other states. It is about making your desired state so vivid, so real in your imagination that it displaces your awareness of the unwanted state. Let me offer you a practical approach to this divine art of assumption. Tonight, when you retire to sleep, lie upon your bed and relax your body completely. Then in your imagination, construct a scene that would imply your freedom from whatever condition has made you feel stuck. Make the scene as vivid and as real as you possibly can. For instance, if you feel stuck in a job that drains your energy and stifles your creativity, imagine a conversation with a friend in which you share your excitement about your new position, one that fulfills you and allows your talents to flourish. Hear your friend's congratulations. Feel the handshake or the embrace. Experience the relief and joy of having transcended the old limitation. Or perhaps you feel stuck in a relationship pattern that brings you pain. Imagine instead a conversation in which you describe to a trusted friend the wonderful harmony and love you now experience. Feel the satisfaction of having moved beyond the old pattern into a new state of mutual respect and affection. Whatever the specific circumstance that has made you feel stuck, create a scene that would naturally follow if you were now free from that limitation. Enter fully into this imaginal scene. Make it so real that for a brief time you forget you are imagining. Feel the feelings that the fulfilled wish would bring. Then, carrying this feeling, drift off to sleep. In doing this, you are planting the seed of your freedom in the fertile soil of consciousness. You are impressing upon the subconscious mind, which knows no limitations and possesses the power to transform your world, the reality of your wish fulfilled. And what is impressed upon the subconscious must be expressed in your world. Some of you may wonder, how long must I persist in this practice before I see results? The answer is you persist until the feeling of your wish fulfilled becomes more real to you than the feeling of being stuck. You persist until you have displaced the old state completely and dwell naturally in the new state. For some, this displacement may occur in a single night of profound imagining. For others, it may require repeated sessions of entering the state of the wish fulfilled. But know this, the law is infallible. What you assume you must become, what you impress upon consciousness, consciousness must express. Remember, time is a construct of the human mind. In the realm of true causation, the realm of consciousness, there is no time. The seed planted today may flower tomorrow or next week or next month. Your task is not to set the timetable for manifestation. Your task is simply to plant the seed with conviction and to tend it with fidelity to your assumption. Now, I understand that for many of you, the feeling of being stuck has persisted for so long that it seems like an unchangeable fact of your existence. Perhaps you've tried various methods to break free, positive thinking, goal setting, seeking advice from experts, and still the walls remain. This persistent experience can make it difficult to believe that freedom is truly possible for you. But I ask you to consider this: the very fact that you can conceive of freedom proves that it exists within your consciousness. And if it exists within your consciousness, it can be made manifest in your world. For consciousness is the only reality, and what exists in consciousness must, by the law of assumption, be expressed in experience. The Bible, when properly understood as a psychological drama rather than a historical document, reveals this truth. When the psalmist says, "He brought me forth also into a large place, He delivered me, because He delighted in me," he is describing the movement from a state of confinement to a state of freedom that occurs when one delights in or fully occupies a new state of consciousness. And in Isaiah we read, "Enlarge the place of thy tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thy inhabitation. Spare not, lengthen thy cords and strengthen thy stakes." This is not a command to physically expand one's dwelling. It is an invitation to expand consciousness, to move beyond the limited state in which one has been dwelling, and to occupy a larger, more expansive state. This expansion of consciousness is the true meaning of freedom. It is not merely freedom from external constraints, though that will follow, but freedom from the limited concepts, self and world, that have kept you bound to unwanted conditions. Consider the story of the Exodus, which is often read as a historical account of the Israelites' liberation from slavery in Egypt. But on a deeper level, it is the story of consciousness liberating itself from the bondage of limiting beliefs and assumptions. Egypt represents the state of limitation, the state of being stuck, and the journey to the promised land represents the movement of consciousness from limitation to freedom. But note well, before the Israelites could physically leave Egypt, they had to leave it in consciousness. They had to believe in the possibility of freedom before freedom could become their experience. This is the pattern of all liberation, first in consciousness, then in manifestation. So tonight, I invite you to begin your exodus from the Egypt of limitation. I invite you to cross the Red Sea of impossibility and to enter the wilderness of transformation, trusting that the promised land of your freedom awaits you. But how does one begin this journey? How does one take the first step toward freedom when feeling so completely stuck? The answer lies in the art of revision, the practice of mentally rewriting the events of your day to align with the state you wish to occupy. Each night, before you enter into the state of your wish fulfilled as you fall asleep, take a few moments to review the events of your day. Identify moments when you felt particularly stuck, when the walls seemed especially confining. Now in your imagination, rewrite these events. See them unfolding differently. Feel how you would have felt if in those moments you had experienced freedom rather than limitation. For instance, if during the day you had a conversation in which you felt small and powerless, revise that conversation. In your imagination, see yourself speaking with confidence and authority. Feel the satisfaction of expressing yourself fully and being received with respect. Or if you encountered a circumstance that seemed to confirm your state of being stuck, revise that circumstance. See it unfolding in a way that confirms your freedom instead. This practice of revision serves two powerful purposes. First, it prevents the accumulation of impressions that would reinforce the unwanted state. By revising the events of your day, you are ensuring that your subconscious is not being continually impressed with the feeling of being stuck. Second, it actively impresses upon the subconscious the feeling of the state you wish to occupy, the state of freedom. Over time, this practice will transform your habitual state of consciousness. And as your consciousness transforms, so must your world transform, for your world is nothing more than your consciousness objectified. But perhaps the most challenging aspect of this practice is maintaining fidelity to your new assumption in the face of persisting evidence to the contrary. The world, being a shadow of past states of consciousness, will for a time continue to reflect the old state even as you begin to dwell in the new. This persistence of the old reality can test your faith in the law, tempting you to abandon your assumption and return to the familiar if unwanted state of being stuck. This is why I emphasize the importance of dwelling in the state of the wish fulfilled with such intensity, such completeness, that for those moments at least, the old state is entirely forgotten, for it is in these moments of complete absorption in the new state that the most powerful impressions are made upon the subconscious. I recall a student of mine who had been confined to a wheelchair for many years following an accident. All medical opinion confirmed that his condition was permanent, yet night after night, he would enter into the state of being whole and active. In his imagination, he would dance, run, climb stairs with ease. He would feel the strength in his legs, the freedom of movement, the joy of physical activity. For months there was no visible change in his condition. The evidence of his senses continued to testify to his limitation, but he remained faithful to his assumption. He continued to revise his days, replacing moments of limitation with imaginal experiences of freedom. He continued to fall asleep each night in the state of his wish fulfilled, and then gradually things began to change. Sensation began to return to parts of his body that had been numb. Small movements became possible where there had been none. Medical professionals were baffled but confirmed the changes, and over time, through what they called a miraculous recovery, he regained the full use of his body. Was this a miracle in the supernatural sense? No, it was the natural operation of the law of consciousness. He had so completely revised his concept of himself, so thoroughly impressed upon the subconscious the state of being whole and free, that the subconscious had no choice but to express this new concept in his physical experience. This same law operates in every sphere of your life. Whether you feel stuck in health, in wealth, in relationships, in career, the way out is the same. You must revise your concept of self. You must exchange your limited self-concept for an expanded one, and you must do this not merely as an intellectual exercise, but as a vivid, feelingful experience in imagination. For imagination is not, as many suppose, a faculty for daydreaming or escapism. Imagination is nothing less than consciousness itself in its creative aspect. It is the God power within you, the I am clothed in the specific forms of your assumptions. When you say, I am stuck, you are not merely describing your condition, you are invoking the creative power of the I am to produce and sustain that condition. And when you say, I am free, you are invoking that same power to produce and sustain freedom. The I am in you will become whatever you attach to it through feeling. This is why feelings are so crucial in the law of assumption. It is not enough to intellectually understand that you are not truly stuck, that the limitations you perceive are illusions of consciousness. You must feel your freedom. You must experience it so vividly in imagination that the feeling of being stuck is displaced completely, if only for a moment. Some may argue, but Wayne, the circumstances that make me feel stuck are real. They are not merely in my imagination. To this I would reply, yes, the circumstances appear real because they are the objectification of previous states of consciousness. They are the shadow cast by the light of consciousness. But shadows, no matter how dark they appear, cannot persist in the presence of light. When you shift your consciousness from the state of being stuck to the state of being free, you are turning on the light. And though the shadow may not disappear instantly, it must eventually give way to the light, for that is the law of consciousness. I invite you to test this law for yourself. Do not take my word for it. Do not believe it merely because it appeals to you intellectually. Test it in the laboratory of your own life. Apply the principles I have shared with you tonight to some area where you feel stuck and observe the results with the detachment of a scientist. Begin tonight. When you retire to sleep, revise the events of your day that reinforce the feeling of being stuck. Then enter fully into a scene that implies your freedom. Make it vivid. Feel it deeply. Carry this feeling as you drift off to sleep. Do this night after night and watch how your world begins to transform. Notice how opportunities appear that were not there before. Observe how circumstances rearrange themselves to accommodate your new state of consciousness. Marvel at the bridge of incidents that forms itself, leading you from the state of being stuck to the state of freedom you have assumed in consciousness. But a word of caution, do not look for science too eagerly in the beginning. Do not dig up the seed to see if it is growing. Allow the law to operate in its own time and in its own way. Your role is to plant the seed through assumption and to nurture it through fidelity to that assumption. The law will take care of the manifestation. I am reminded of a beautiful passage from Ecclesiastes. In the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thine hand, for thou knowest not whether shall prosper either this or that, or whether they both shall be alike good. Sow the seed of your assumption in the morning of your consciousness, and sow it again in the evening. Do not try to determine which particular act of sowing will produce the harvest. Trust the law to bring forth the manifestation in its own perfect time. There is another aspect of the feeling of being stuck that I wish to address, for it can be particularly pernicious. Often the feeling of being stuck is accompanied by a sense of unworthiness, a belief that one does not deserve freedom, or that one has somehow caused one's own imprisonment through past mistakes or failures. This sense of unworthiness is itself a state of consciousness, and like all states, it can be exchanged for another. You need not justify your desire for freedom. You need not earn the right to live the life you wish to live. Freedom is your natural inheritance. It is the fundamental reality of your being. To claim it, you need only assume it as yours. In the scripture, we read, your Father has pleased to give you the kingdom. The kingdom, the realm of infinite possibility of complete freedom, is already yours. It has already been given to you. Your task is not to earn it, but to accept it, to assume it, to enter into it through the portal of your imagination. So tonight, as you lie down to sleep, let go of all thoughts on worthiness. Release all beliefs that you must somehow qualify for the freedom you desire. Instead, assume the feeling of already being the person you wish to be, already living the life you wish to live, already possessing the freedom you seek. For in the realm of consciousness, in the realm of the real, there is no process of becoming. There is only being. You do not become free. You recognize the freedom that has always been yours. You do not achieve the fulfillment of your desires. You awaken to the fulfillment that has always existed within you. This is the great mystery to which all spiritual teachings point. What you are seeking, you already are. What you desire to possess, you already possess. The journey is not one of acquisition, but of recognition. When you truly understand this, the feeling of being stuck dissolves like mist in the morning sun. For how can you be stuck when you are consciousness itself, and consciousness is unlimited? How can you be confined when your true identity is the I am, and the I am knows no restrictions? Let me share with you one more practice that can help to dissolve the feeling of being stuck. Throughout your day, whenever you catch yourself feeling limited or confined, pause and ask yourself this question. What would the feeling be like if I were now the person I desire to be? How would I see this circumstance if I were now free from all limitations? Then, for just a moment, assume that feeling. Enter into it completely. Let it permeate your being. This momentary assumption, repeated throughout your day, will gradually transform your habitual state of consciousness. And as your consciousness transforms, so must your world transform. Remember the words attributed to Jesus. The truth shall make you free, but what is this truth that liberates? It is the truth of your own being that you are pure consciousness, that you are the operant power, that the world is your consciousness pushed out. When you know this truth, not merely intellectually, but through the direct experience of testing it in your own life, you will never again feel permanently stuck in any circumstance, for you will have discovered the secret of liberation. The prison that seemed to confine you was built by your own imagination, and what imagination has constructed, imagination can deconstruct. The walls that appeared so solid were made of assumptions, and assumptions can be changed. This is the freedom I offer you tonight. Not freedom from certain circumstances, but freedom from the belief that circumstances have power over you. Not freedom from conditions, but freedom from the assumption that conditions can contain the infinite being that you are. Test this law of assumption. Apply it to your own feeling of being stuck. Enter fully into the state of your wish fulfilled and observe how the universe rearranges itself to accommodate your new concept of self. For that is the promise of the law: as a man assumes, so he becomes. And know this, there is no limitation in consciousness itself. The only limitations are those you accept through your assumptions. Therefore, assume freedom, and freedom must become your experience. Assume abundance, and abundance must flow into your life. Assume love, and love must surround you. For consciousness is the only reality, and what you assume in consciousness must be made manifest in your world. The choice is yours. You can continue to assume the state of being stuck, and your experience will continue to validate that assumption. Or you can assume the state of freedom and watch as the universe conspires to make that assumption a reality. Begin tonight as you fall asleep. Enter so completely into the feeling of your wish fulfilled that the feeling of being stuck is utterly forgotten. Do this night after night and test the law for yourself. For the promise is true if you know these things. Happy are you if you do them. The practice I have outlined for you is simple, but it requires discipline and persistence. It requires that you be faithful to your assumption even when all the evidence of your senses contradicts it. But the rewards of this faithfulness are beyond measure. For in assuming the state of freedom, you are not merely changing your circumstances. You are awakening to the truth of your being. You are recognizing the divine power that has been yours from the beginning. This recognition is the true meaning of salvation, not salvation from an external threat, but salvation from the limited concept of self that has kept you bound to unwanted conditions. It is awakening to the truth that sets you free. So tonight, as you leave this place, carry with you this knowledge. The feeling of being stuck is not your natural state. It is an assumed condition, and what has been assumed can be relinquished. Freedom is your birthright, your natural inheritance, the fundamental reality of your being. Claim it through the divine art of assumption and watch as the prison walls that seem so solid dissolve like shadows of the light of your own awakened consciousness. For you are not a prisoner unless you believe yourself to be one. You are not stuck unless you assume yourself to be stuck. You are free eternally, completely free when you awaken to the truth of your own infinite being. Begin the practice tonight. Enter the state of freedom through the portal of your imagination. Feel it with all the intensity you can muster and know that as you assume this state, as you make it real in your consciousness, it must become real in your experience. For that is the law, that is the promise, that is the truth that sets you free. Remember, always consciousness is the only reality, and you are consciousness. Therefore, you are the reality behind all appearances. You are the power that shapes your world. You are the freedom you seek. Go now and test this truth for yourself. For in testing it, you will discover the greatest secret of all. The key to your freedom has been in your possession all along. It is your own wonderful human imagination, the God power within you clothed in the specific forms of your assumptions. Use this power wisely. Use it lovingly. Use it to liberate yourself from all limitations, and as you experience the freedom that is your natural state, share this knowledge with others who still feel stuck, that they too might awaken to the truth of their being. For this is why we are here, not merely to seek our own liberation, but to help awaken all humanity to the glorious truth that sets everyone free. The truth that there is no power outside of consciousness, the truth that what we assume we become, The truth that freedom is not a destination to be reached, but a present reality to be recognized. So tonight assume the state of freedom, feel its reality, live from it, and watch as your world transforms to reflect the new concept of self you have assumed. For that is the promise of the law, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The renewal begins tonight in the quiet sanctuary of your own imagination. It begins with the simple but profound act of assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. It begins with the recognition that the prison that seemed to confine you is built of assumptions, and what has been built can be dismantled. The tools are in your hands, the power is within you, the choice is yours. Choose freedom. Choose it now, not as a future possibility, but as a present reality. Feel its presence, embody its truth, and from this new state of consciousness, watch as the universe conspires to set you free. For that is the law, that is the promise, that is the truth that liberates all who discover it and apply it in their lives. The feeling of being stuck is not your natural state. Freedom is your birthright. Claim it through the divine art of assumption, and it must become your experience. For consciousness is the only reality, and you are consciousness itself expressing in the specific forms of your assumptions. Assume freedom, and freedom shall be yours. This is the law, this is the promise, this is the truth that sets you free.